Hello everyone, Bashar here. We are together with some developments on Raid. So there are some new champions as you can see on the screen right now, but there is also another change. So our cry of complaint has been heard by Plarium, and this change has been live for a few days now, but when I'm examining the champions, I thought I also would give a reminder to people that might have missed it. So the bundles that contain primal shards in the shop will contain approximately 40% more primal shards than they used to. So the price will be dropping by about 30% per unit approximately. So right now we have offers in the shop that contain 10 primal shards for $60. Of course, it will have to be adjusted for currency around the world, but so from that's actually a 25% discount because we used to get them at about 30% ish. We used to get them at about slightly more expensive than 8 per, and now it's 6 per. So there is that improvement, and also the mercy system was pitiful. That has been changed. So they didn't change the legendary mercy system. It's still 75 and 1% after, but the mythical has been increased from, so it still triggers at 200, but instead of 1% per shard giving you a guaranteed at the end of 300 shards, now it increased by 10%, and by the time you open your 210th you will have a mythical, right? Well, 211 actually, but so the merge system is much more lenient now. It's much better. These are nice changes, of course, but I really think that we do need the feature that they have hinted at to arrive, because we are not still able to earn these properly, right? I mean, there is one per month that comes from the daily login rewards, and all of the others are, not trustworthy, right? You have to win, Hydra Clash, you have to do good at Hydra, and you can maybe win half a shard per week. There are some events, you have to win some tournaments, right? As I said, it's not very guaranteed. So since they were added to the game, the two were gifted, as you know, and I won a lot of tournaments and Hydra Clashes, and my grand total is up to 9, so I have earned 7, and that is probably an above average number. So they need to increase. So these are nice changes, and I am glad that they listen to the community, but they really need to bring that feature. So that's that, and let's take a look at the champions. So today we have a 10x on Vitrius. He's a new attack type Void Affinity Sacred Order champion. He is rather good. So what does he do? His A1 attacks twice. The first hit heals him by 30% of the damage that's inflicted, and the book version has an 80% chance of placing a fear, right? But if you are using it on a boss, you let go of the fear because the fear will never work. Instead, he places a decreased speed with 80% chance. I mean, the multiplier. So guys, this is a nuker, so multipliers are very important. What are his multipliers, right? We need to see. But of course, not a bad ability at all. And second ability is attacks all enemies, removes increased defense, ally protection, and strengthen. And this cannot be resisted. And this also happens before attacking. So he will deal his regular damage, right? Because those are, the nightmare of nukers. You can't kill the enemies with those buffs existing, right? I mean, it becomes very much harder at the very least. And before attacking means he will be dealing his full damage. That is very strong, but of course also makes him subject to sheep. There is that risk. or pretty powerful ability, and also will ignore 30% of each target's defense, and for every survived enemy he gets 30% turn meter. So I mean, this, if they all survive, he will have a 120% turn meter, which is tantamount to an extra turn, right? Not exactly an extra turn, but almost an extra turn. So, and those buffs are really strong. I mean, the shields still remain, but increased defense and strength are the main buffs to avoid damage, along with ally protection. And finally, we have By My Hand. Attacks one enemy twice. The first hit destroys 25% of the first hit destroys enemy's max HP by 25% of the damage dealt. Yeah, I did start the sentence wrong. And the cap to destroy the HP is 75%. And he destroys 35% of max HP against bosses. I mean, okay. The second hit will ignore 30% of target's defense if they do not have any active skills on cooldown. If they do, it ignores 50% of defense, and also ignores shield, unkillable, and block damage. So guys, this is rather nasty, you know. You do the A2, if they survive you get an extra turn and do this. So I mean, void attack, he should be killing this if this happens. Very nasty. And he has an interesting ability. So when they try to give you a cooldown, right, Warlord, you make a sort of thing, he not only resets the cooldowns of A2 or A3 at random, right? So let's say Warlord gave you cooldown, right? So A2 or A3 lose their cooldown. And when that happens, he gets a turn. I mean, imagine the guy goes Warlord on you, and you're like, okay, my A2 or A3, one of them is up, and I do have the turn now, immediately. And this is a 5-turn cooldown passive, goes into cooldown. Also, if his cooldown is decreased by any means, right, the 5% mastery, Yumeko, Kaimar, reflex, whatever it is, right, or even refresh accessories, anything that reduces his cooldowns, he gets an extra turn as well. I mean, imagine you do A2, right? You get 120% turn meter back, they survive. Refresh accessory procs, boom, again. Ooh, very nasty. Well, he does look good. We have to see the multipliers. I wonder if we can find out the multipliers. Has it been data mined yet? It's not. It's too early. And it has a 24% crit aura. Not bad. Sometimes, guys, people use these guys as the leader. I mean, they built this guy with 76% crit, and that allows you to extra damage. He's pretty good. So we now have Togron the Conjoint. There is another head, that's why he's conjoined, I guess. So he has a very rare ability. I don't remember where I saw it other than this guy. It probably exists somewhere, but it's a very rare effect. So his A1 attacks the target, and also has a 50% chance of applying a buff spread effect. So this is very, very rare. Is it new to the game? I'm not very sure. So there are a few debuff spread effects, but a buff spread effect I don't just recall. Maybe there is some that I don't know about, but I don't recall of a buff spread effect. So it takes that's interesting. It says it takes a random buff from each ally and placing it on all allies. So I mean, on a Hydra team, he takes 6 buffs from 6 champions and places on other guys. I mean, I would have thought he would select a champion at random and a buff at random and then spread that. It says from each ally. That's interesting. But normally and most of the time, guys, you generally have the same buffs up on most champions, you know. There are not very many champions that do asymmetric buffs. For example, Nut gives himself a counter attack. Maybe this guy can spread that counter attack. So, or Krisk gives himself some continuous heals. Maybe he can spread that. It's not bad. Of course, he does more. So the second ability is on a 3-turn cooldown. Heals everyone by 20% of this guy's max HP. So that's very important, guys. If the healing is by this guy's HP or everyone's own HP, because let's say you have a Razelwarg on the team and the most HP you will have is probably like 40,000, 45,000 or something, so that 20% of this is going to be 8k, 9k, and that's not going to amount to much. But imagine building this guy with 100k HP, right? So you will be healing everyone by 20k. That's insane. Because you have this ability, you're gonna go for a lot of HP, because this is not a champion that you expect damage from anyway, right? I mean, he probably is attack based, but he just has a single ability that does damage, and everything is supportive, so you don't really expect damage out of this guy. Also places a continuous heal buff for 2 turns on all allies whose current HP is below 50% after the initial heal. I mean, it's a nice plus. So this guy looks like he would be pretty good in Hydra. The one thing that's missing is, I mean, I would have loved it if he also was able to fill a little bit of turn meter. I mean, like 15% or something instead of this continuous heal. So I'm not saying it's bad, it's pretty good, but I mean, there will be times that this heal will not be very useful. So, but it could be that this could replace, the leech debuff, right? I mean, he will be doing something like Necmo, but of course Necmo fills the turn meters. That's very important. Anyway, the last ability that he has is, he has the turn meter push actually. My bad. Okay, so 3 turn cooldown, 20% turn meter push, and gives increased accuracy to everyone. So guys, I know I am comparing him to the best guy in the game, maybe Necmo, but Necmo does a 30% increased speed and 30% turn meter push with the same ability. So I should say this turn meter push would have been a little more. And this guy is very, very, very worthy of reflex set and refresh accessories, everything that reduces cooldowns. I mean, he does look pretty good, right? I mean, 20% turn meter push and increase accuracy buff and a debuff removal. Yeah. I mean, with the debuff removal, I think it's a good ability. So I was going to say this was a little not sufficient, maybe, because the turn meter push is a bit low. But yeah, all in all, I mean, of course, extremely good Hydra champion. And he has another ability, by the way. So whenever he uses his A2 or A3, that's what active skill means. Skills with cooldowns, right? He increases his HP by 50%. 10% max HP for each ability and up to 50%. And here comes the good part. He also does it for every ally, but it is 5%, but it stacks up to 50% as well. So, I mean, this guy has to use 5 abilities to stack it to the max, and the allies have to use 10 abilities. But guys, it's a Hydra battle, right? I mean, it will happen a little more slowly for the allies, but it will happen for everyone. I mean, and thing is, he is healing everyone with his max HP. So I mean, if you give him 100k HP, he will go up to 150k, and that means he will be healing everyone by 30k, which is insane, right? And also, guys, I mean, imagine you bring Sisia, you bring Ninja, you bring Razorwarg, and what I mean by that is, you know, squishy attack-based champions, right? I mean, they are very good damage dealers, but survivability is a problem, and the 50% max HP will, you know, give you 50% more survivability, which is, I mean, extreme, I would say. So with the addition of this passive, guys, I would say top-notch Hydra champion, probably top 30 or something. I mean, he also features a speed aura, that's 20%. Yeah, all in all, very good. I mean, reflex and refresh all the way, right? I mean, because you expect 0 damage from this guy, you just have to refresh these two. I'm still not sure if he can replace Nekmo, right? Nekmotar. But he does some nice stuff. And thing is, guys, if you can lock your team, I mean, if you think you will have the same team over and over, you can actually cut down a lot of accuracy, right? Because this guy will give your entire team increased accuracy, and you will of course go for the lasting gifts mastery, which gives you an increased duration with 30% of the time. And because this guy does not need accuracy at all, right, you can go wild at his HP, resistance and speed. So what we want is this guy continuously using these abilities at all times. And as I said, I think he does such a good job of healing. I think the leech can be let go. You know, you can bring this guy to replace Nekmo. I'm not sure if he'll be able to match him, but so he lacks decreased speed from Nekmo. He lacks leech, but he has a lot of heal. We can maybe assume that will do the job. He has a lower turn meter fill, and he doesn't have AoE decreased attack either. He has the 50% max HP. So if you can grab the decreased speed and decreased attack, which are, I mean, very essential Hydra debuffs, I suppose he could, yeah. I mean, let's say you have Artak or Nut, right? Those apply the decreased attack anyway. Yeah. And not having to have accuracy is also great. So I would say very top-notch Hydra champion. And for, I mean, I was a little bit too focused on Hydra, but I think he will also work rather well everywhere else. And we have Bumbus. We have a video on this, right? We have analyzed them. This is our current fusion. These are the fusion epics. I mean, I don't want to go hard at these guys, but let's take a look. 20%. So 50% freeze, 2 hits. Not bad for Fire Knight, I guess. Also, will ignore the enemy resistance, which means, I mean, he will ignore it because he will be faster than the boss, right? Which means we can actually equip him with lower accuracy than we could. The second ability is interesting. He places an increased attack and increased speed on himself. Interesting. Attacks one enemy thrice. Each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense. Each hit has also a 75% chance, which is 100% booked through fear. Okay, ignores target res. If target is a boss, places a weaken and ignore. Not bad, but I don't think we should make an extra effort to keep this guy. These are the fusion rares. The A1 puts up a 35% weaker decreased defense. If they have poison sensitivity placed by this guy, which his A3 does, we placed a stronger decreased defense. A rare placing a decreased defense debuff, a strong decreased defense debuff is not bad. I mean, maybe if you are not able to do the fusion and you get this guy, maybe you can use him in the demon spawn crypt or something. Attacks all enemies twice. He does AoE, decrease V. Ooh. That's interesting. So he does weaker AoE decrease attack. And has also places a strong poison. The third ability attacks thrice randomly. 40% chance of putting a poison sensitivity. Interesting. So if it all attacks land on the same target, from in the case of a boss or maybe a last guy standing, it also plays a poison debuff. Well, it does a little bit more than what rares do. Not bad, I guess. And also a 30 accuracy aura, which is also not bad for a rare. It's a good for a rare. Yeah, the power creep is real. He does a lot for a rare. I mean, guys, AoE decrease attack, even though weaker version of decrease attack, and also poison at the same time, and the poison is the stronger poison. I mean, that does a lot for a rare. So the A1 has a 45% chance of a leech. This is the other fusion rare. He places an increased defense buff, and he is defense based, so he will be doing more damage. And also provoke, which is a 65% chance. AoE attack with an increased defense buff, and also 65% of AoE provoke. These are doing a lot. And we have a passive that works on a 4-turn cooldown. When he receives more than 20% damage from an incoming ability, he gets a block damage buff that goes on a 4-turn cooldown. That's not bad. And the always working part of the passive is he counterattacks every single time when he's attacked by an enemy by a provoke. So, I mean, you put the provoke up, right? 65% chance with the increased defense, and they attack you, and then you counterattack and place leech on them. Well, this also does quite a bit for a rare. This is the other second fusion epic. He steals a buff with a 70% chance. She attacks all enemies. Enemy buff duration is decreased, and also enemy friendly buff duration is increased. Very bland, very straightforward. Does a revive. 30% HP and 30% turn meter, which is not very good or not very bad, but she also puts up a shield that is 30% of the size. Could be used if you don't have Rector Drath or someone in the Knight's Revenant Crypt. I don't think a serious effort should be made to keep one extra copy of her. And we have the Void Rare. So she heals by 30%. But if she's attacking a target under an HP burn, she heals by 40%. That amount of heal could not be correct. Maybe I'm saying something wrong, because that is a very serious amount. Okay. Extends the duration of HP burns with a 65% chance. So this is what I dislike about rares, guys. They don't do anything straight forward, right? I mean, there is always the chance they can fail. And attacks 3 times at random. Places weak increased accuracy on herself, and has a 75% chance of applying HP burn. Well, that is quite a lot for a rare again. I mean, HP burn is not very commonly found on rares. And also, whenever an HP burn gets activated, she receives a 5% turn meter boost. That's also okay, I think. And finally, we have Meat Carver Tolog, Skinwalker's Force Affinity HP champion. Attacks one enemy twice, and he gets healed by 4%. Okay. Twice, 2%. It places weaker increased defense on everyone, and also a continuous seal. So force HP room, you know, not well, pretty good actually for the force HP room. And he also does a revive, and it puts up a continuous seal. So this really is very good for the force HP Doom Tower side room, which is very specific, I know. It was active in the last rotation. And finally, he has a passive. So whenever a continuous heal is placed on an ally, no. Whenever a continuous heal placed by an ally from the Skinwalker faction expires, himself, right, is removed or stolen, gives that ally a 7.5% weaker continuous heal. Interesting. So his abilities give the continuous heal, and then when it expires, he leaves behind the weaker continuous heal. Interesting. Okay. So these are the September champions. We have the fusion rares and epics, the fusion itself, and two new very nice void legendaries. I do hope you get them, and see you on the stream, guys. Bye bye.